Hi, it's Joy Olson of Blockbuster Fundraising, and it's September. Oh my goodness. And you know what September means? It means autumn is coming. And if you get started right now, right this minute, you'll be able to prepare an annual appeal timeline that will get your best direct mail appeal into your donors' hands by Thanksgiving. And that's a time when many of us, all of us, are really feeling especially grateful, and we're inclined to share our blessings. All right, we are back. The grindstone has begun. Where are we exactly? What do we need to do to make sure that we get to or surpass our fundraising goals by December 31st? Well, first things first, you want to plan the core of your campaign, all right? And I have this wonderful blog from Bloomerang. It's an excellent timeline, an excellent annual appeal timeline. So I thought that I would love to share that with you today in our first week of September. Wow. Well, what you need to do is, number one, have some brainstorm meetings right now with your staff. We want to figure out, what is our theme? What are our best stories? What is our message going to be? And you gather together your brainstorming best, people that are involved in development, and you really get your very best ideas and your very best stories on the paper right now. And a lot of times your best stories are going to really help you set the tone of your theme, because you're going to center your fundraising around those stories. And you like everything like tied together, all neatly tied together. What are the core components of annual appeal planning? Well, we've talked about the brainstorming and the brainstorming the theme, brainstorming the messaging, and the package elements. So this is September. This is your opportunity to think about your vision, your mission, and values from the perspective of what truly matters to your donors. What's in it for them to be invested with you? What areas do they earmark their giving for? What articles of yours do they read and share? Have you kept track of that? What are the frequently asked questions? So ask yourself these questions. And the tip here is to ask and brainstorm the answers to these questions. What makes your donors' hearts sing? What is it? What do they love the most about what you're doing? What's going on in the news that people are thinking about? And how can your message tie you back to the donors, what they're already concerned about? Right? They're already concerned about that. That's what they're worried about. They want to know that they're going to have an impact about what they're worried about. And pull a group together. This can be your staff or your volunteers, and spend some time up front thinking together about what may be compelling and inspiring to your supporters. Really, really good advice. Here's another tip. When everyone on your team has ownership of your annual campaign theme, you'll get greater investment in seeing every step of the plan through to fruition. Writers have to feel passionate about the message. You do. You know, when you sit down to write a direct mail, it has to come from your heart, or it's not going to work. So don't ask whoever's in charge of writing, don't ask them to write an appeal that they don't believe in. or even one worse that bores them to death, the person who writes the thank you letter has to buy into the theme as well, or the thank you will be dry and transactional. It really won't even relate. So you know, a good piece of advice, and you've heard this before, is when you write your annual direct mail piece and themes to your different segments, write the thank you letter right then, so you really tie together the impact of what they've just done, what they've given to. So the main thing here, or one of the main things, is to remember that autumn is coming, and everyone is going to be competing for your donor's attention. So what's going to make your appeal stand out and resonate? Such an important question to ask yourself right now. People can't give to everything. Increasingly, they don't. Folks are giving fewer but larger gifts to fewer organizations. They're giving to make an impact. They don't want to just be a drop in the bucket. So another tip. Don't simply repeat what you wrote last year. Certainly review what you did last year and review how it did. And if it did super well, review and brainstorm, why do you think this resonated so much with our donors last year? But you don't want to just repeat what you did last year, even if it's super successful. It's once again that time of year, so we hope you'll join us in our mission. That's so boring. That's extremely boring. Is now a time when your service is needed more than ever? Why? Spell this out and make your donor believe you. All right, you want to make sure, we've talked about this earlier today, draft a segmentation chart. You'll always get your best results when you show people that you know them. That is so true. Here's another tip. The first step towards personalization is dividing your database into segments based on, number one, how people are affiliated with you, and two, when, how, and how much they give. There are many ways to slice this, and you can't make every possible cut, but think about all the cuts you could possibly make to begin. Then narrow your focus, because you are personalizing, because this is a relationship. This is a relationship letter, not a transactional letter. And once you've segmented your list, then and only then can you tailor your appeal letter appropriately. All right, here's another tip. Just little tweaks in your copy can pack a big punch. That's what I found out when I'd ask my husband for help. It would just make a difference in such a sentence, and it would just uplift the entire paragraph. So if I'm a board member, I'd appreciate a letter that says, as a board member, you understand better than most. And the same holds true if I'm a parent, an alum, a patient, a ticket holder, a subscriber, a member, a major giver, a monthly giver. If you can acknowledge that particular connection in your appeal, you should, and you're going to see much greater results. When you separate large donors from smaller donors, you can also tailor your remit piece appropriately. That's a good point. Here's a tip. In fundraising, different strokes for different folks applies in spades. So someone who's given you less than $100 should receive a different appeal than someone who gives you $500 or more. In the case of smaller donors, you may ask them to repeat their giving by suggesting a string of amounts that will be reflected in your remit piece or your donation landing page. For larger donors, you may ask for a specific amount that matches, and for first-time donors, or is greater than, for repeat donors, what they gave previously. And you'll want to use a higher-end response device. It makes little sense to ask a $500 donor to give 15, 25, 50, or 100. It's ridiculous. It's totally ridiculous, and it's an insult. It's much better to ask them to give 250, 500, 1,000, or 2,500. So your draft letter and your remit. Here's where you think about what content to include in order to create an offer your donor can't refuse. We're a profoundly social and caring species, really, with sympathy being a stronger instinct than self-interest. So it's good to have a compelling, emotional story to tell, because plenty of research shows people are wired for stories. So don't wait any longer to look for your best stories and content, because it's got to happen now. Now. Don't wait. Hopefully you've got your inspiration folder and a bunch of good stories ready to go. At least 4 or 5, okay? Tip: brainstorm your best stories. Do you have permission to share this story? If not, can you get it or work around it? In a nutshell, you need 3 things. The problem you're addressing. Can you make it seem real and relevant to your donor? The solution you're proposing to address the problem with your donor's help. Specifically, how can they help? The purpose and the amount of the gift you're requesting. Tip: determine in advance whether you have compelling visuals to illustrate these stories. If not, can you get a photo or a video? Or should you pick another story? Hey, a picture really is worth 1,000 words, maybe more. Add a photo, ideally of one person or one thing that the donors can help. All right, you want to add that photo to your mail or your email appeals. Also, use visuals on social media. You know that. Folks pay a lot more attention on social networks if you include donation impact graphics. And hey, urgency. Urgency is always a key motivator. Now's your time to determine what you can do to create urgency. Tip: matching grants and challenges work wonders to leverage donor giving. So consider whether you can secure a challenge grant in time for this year's appeal. Good tip. Plan ahead for personal note writing. People give to people, which is why this is probably our favorite tip. In the experience of expert fundraisers, donors' response to appeals with personal handwritten notes is significantly higher than response to appeals without them. You'll have to test or track this for yourself, but the experts say that you'll probably see an increase in response from 2% to 34%, making that personal note well worth the effort. Well worth the effort. tip: ask your board and development committee members, plus other loyal donors and volunteers, to review names on your donor list, on your segmented list, and pick out those folks they know and to whom they'd be willing to write notes. And while you're at it, ask them if they have names of friends, family, or colleagues that they'd like to add. Do this now, sufficiently in advance of your mailing, so that you have time to add these names as workers or solicitors in your database. Then spit out a report for each willing volunteer that includes their chosen prospects. Make it official. Pull these appeal packages from your general mail house mailing, so these folks that have volunteered can add their personal notes. Hey, as we've mentioned, draft your thank you letter in advance. Thank yous work best when they align with the appeal. If you leave it to the last minute, you're likely to wind up with something generic that comes across as a transactional receipt. That's terrible, especially for year-end fundraising. It's about relationships. It's not about transactions or a transactional receipt. Even worse, you may get the thank you out too late to show the donor that you can be trusted. That's terrible. And trust is the foundation of every lasting relationship. And you definitely want this relationship to last, right? It's all about retaining those donors. You work hard on these relationships. You don't want to lose them because they think you haven't noticed because your thank you was so late. So here's a tip. Craft a thank you that reminds your donors why they gave, what they gave to accomplish, and what a hero that they've become as a result. The goal is to reassure your donor they made a good decision and that you'll be putting their gift to work immediately, just as they intended. Now, remember to plan ahead for segments that you're going to drop at different times. In the best of all possible worlds, everyone would get a hand-delivered letter. That way, you know it's been received, and it's certainly hard for the recipient to ignore. However, that's simply not practical. You're going to want to think in advance how you will deliver your appeal to different donor segments. And generally, there are two main mail segments: your bulk and your first class. Now, bulk takes longer to arrive, so to be sure to leave enough time for it to get to its destination. And sometimes, too, even with your mail house, I mean, you can schedule this and so you know when the bulk mailing is going to go out, but sometimes the post office is so backed up, it doesn't go out. And that's one of the best reasons for being early in all this. So your tip is hiring a mail house for bulk mailing will definitely simplify your life, and it's simply well worth the investment. And be sure to get clarity on what they'll do and what you'll do. And a good mail house partnership is really worth its weight in gold. It really is. So get recommendations from other charities in your area who you respect if you don't already have a mail house. Tip: for first class mail in time to arrive just before Thanksgiving, if you are a U.S. charity, is a real good idea. Okay? So first class mail, you want to make sure it's there before Thanksgiving. Of course, you can send an earlier appeal too, and also a later appeal. But Thanksgiving is generally a prime giving holiday and a great way to pave the way for giving throughout the entire December holiday season. Plus, your appeal arrives before others do in December and before folks begin to go away on vacations, and it lays a foundation for supplemental email appeals in December. So important. Be early. A tip for your staff, consider hand delivering appeal letters with a special personal note from your board president or CEO for your really special donors. Or stuff them into individual mailboxes if you have them. All right. Autumn is coming, and if we don't put our best foot forward at this time of year, we're going to be leaving money on the table. So take the time that you need to focus on the stuff that really matters and will make a difference. And that's right now. You got a plan right now to guard against boring your donors, boring them with tired, irrelevant messages, especially at a time of year when mailboxes and inboxes are full with inspirational messages from tons of nonprofits that are after your donors too. Every message that your donors see at this time of year should reinforce messages they've already seen. So develop your year-end fundraising plan, your message, and your multi-channel asking strategy as a team. Be sure that all stakeholders, your board, your marketing peeps, your fundraising peeps, your volunteer and your program staff are aligned, and that you're putting forth a consistent message using every channel at your disposal. Wow, that's a lot to think about in September, right? Well, you've got a lot to get done these next few months of the year. And I know you're going to do a great job. Hey, Joy Olson of Blockbuster Fundraising, great to see you. I hope you had a wonderful Labor Day. A lot more information at joyolsongroup.com, blockbusterfundraising.com. We have way over 300 free fundraising videos on our Blockbuster Fundraising YouTube channel. See you there. See you on Instagram. And have a great week. Remember to, every Tuesday, 1 p.m., we are live on Facebook. Also look for us on Instagram, IGTV. Hey, bye-bye.